right. Hello. Hello. I'm sorry I'm a couple minutes late. My name is Leah Day and I'm coming to you from St. Augustine, Florida. I just finished my workout, so I'm going to get my my post workout.
Right.
I haven't worked out in a week and a half.
I'm sorry, I'm a couple minutes late. My name is.
Turn that down. Okay. So I wanted to talk to you about how is it serving veterans? How is what I do serving veterans? So here recently, I have just switched my entire audience, everything that I do, to veterans. I myself am a veteran, if you don't know that. And I have avoided speaking to veterans for years. I've avoided speaking to veterans for years, and there's reasons behind that. Though the reasons why I've avoided speaking to veterans is because in the 13 years that I was in the Army, I did 6 years reserve, I did 7 years active duty, and I've got a lot of scars from it. Not just wounds that you can see, but mostly wounds that you can't see. I dealt with a lot of crazy-ish while I was in, and it just wasn't something that I wanted to address because I was like, gosh, I don't want to attract that, like more of that to me. Okay. And I had to work on my emotional intelligence before I could attract the veterans to me that I'm now attracting. And what I mean by that are people more like me, not people that were harassing and assaulting me, right? Like those are the kind of people I thought that I was going to attract. Or sometimes you attract man haters, and that's not what you want to do, because I don't hate men. I don't hate women. Like, I just didn't care for the way that I was treated by certain people in the military. And so for years and years, I didn't want to discuss it. I didn't want to tell people that I was in. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to attract those people to me. Okay. But since I have made a shift, and this shift has come from, I went to a virtual event several weeks ago now, maybe a month ago, called Rank Makers Live with Ray Higdon and Jessica Higdon. And they had a speaker, Hank Norman, that came on. And he was my kind of guy because he just like straight up tough love. And he said, the person or like that thing that you're avoiding talking about, that's a thing that you need to talk about. And I was like, oh, right. And then on top of that, I had some mentors, Nicole Dormeray, Mary Kate O'Connell, Stacey Hall, Ray Higdon, like all telling me separately, not knowing about other conversations that I had, like, you need to talk to your audience, Leah. And my audience, whether I like it or not, is veterans, because I spent 13 years of my life in the military. And so I know the pain points that veterans have, right? And so going back, like, I'm building a business online. This is a network marketing, social retail business. And if you say, is this one of those? Yes, it is. This is one of those businesses that changes people's lives if they put the work in, okay? And the work is two separate things. There's the work to the business, like diving into the business that you need to do. And then there is the work on yourself. And what I have learned in my journey is that I can only get so far in the business without putting into myself, right? Without diving into myself and feeding myself and improving my emotional intelligence, my personal development, my forgiveness of others and forgiveness of myself, right? And so why veterans? How do I help veterans? Well, really, this business that I am in helps tons of people from all kinds of backgrounds. It's helped teachers, lawyers, doctors, dentists, chiropractors, stay-home moms, stay-home dads, veterans, police officers, firefighters, like you name it. we have it in our company. Influencers, okay? We have it in this business. And so we're helping people on a massive level. But as a single person, I know that I have to speak directly to the person that I can help. I'm not trying to impact thousands all at once. I'm trying to impact one. And I'm a mom. I love fitness. I love chocolate. So those are all things that I could focus on. And before I was focusing on veterans, I was focusing on fitness. And, something that I learned is that even though I have certifications, I have my personal training certification, I have my DNA-based fitness certification, I'm a nutritionist coach, I'm working on transformational certification. I have those certifications, but it's hard for me to tap into a lot of that audience because I'm not a stickler. Like, if you see me, I have plenty of extra fat on my body still. And the thing is I enjoy life. I'm not going to be that trainer for somebody that's like, well, you got to count your calories and you got to stop eating everything and da 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 da. I'm going to guide you, but I'm not that trainer. And I was getting into that world where it was like all these trainers were like, you got to count your macros and you got to do this. And I was like, oh my goodness, like those aren't my people. Those aren't my people. There are people for those people, and that's great. But you know what? My people are veterans because I get you and you get me. It's a very different and difficult life being in the military or being around the military. And I'm speaking to wives as well, spouses. I'm speaking to families that support them. I'm speaking to patriots that just support our veterans, like they didn't join, but they are huge supporters of our veterans. I'm speaking to you. This is a different life. And, you sign up and you choose it, but there's a lot of things that you don't realize you're signing up for when you take that oath. And one of those things is you don't realize that you are signing up to give away all of your personal freedoms. All of your personal freedoms. So here's the thing. Why veterans? How am I helping veterans? Well, I'm not going to dig deep into my past and my history in the military, but what I can say is when I started getting pushed out for being a whistleblower because I could no longer take the sexual harassment. Once I got pregnant and hormonal, that's when I finally spoke up against it. Couldn't stand it anymore. And then I was deemed a troublemaker. I was deemed a troublemaker once before. Well, several times before, probably, always for standing up for what was right, which I did not understand because I'm like, we're the U.S. Army. Like, that's what we do. But it isn't always what we do. Certain leaders, right? Certain leaders. And I'm not saying everybody, because for the most part, I always was able to connect with people like me while I was in. But it's like that one rotten apple in the bushel, it rots them all out, right? So when I finally got out, I was a mother, and I was just an FYI, I loved deploying. I loved doing my job. But when I got pregnant, I was like, I think I'm gonna lose my mind if I have to deploy and leave my child for a year. I know that it's very hard on most everybody, and there's never any judgment because I understand wanting to deploy. I totally understand that. And some people can separate that better than I could, as far as once you have a family, and some people are just well, I don't have a choice. This is my life. And that's fine too. Okay. But I personally did not want to deploy anymore once I had my child because I wanted to be present. I grew up without present parents and I raised myself, and I didn't, wow, I'm getting a little emotional. I didn't want that for my kids. That was very important to me. And I rebelled, right? I rebelled big time because I was like, you know what? I'm going to get out and I don't want a 9 to 5. I don't want anybody telling me what to do. I don't want anybody telling me when I can go on vacation. I don't want anybody checking my car out to make sure that I can go 250 miles. I don't want to have to request to go, to another state for the weekend. Like, you're not the boss of me, right? So I rebelled like big time when I got out. And that's when I found this industry and really decided that I was going to make it work for me and for my family, because it allows me the opportunity to, if I'm not making enough money, I don't have to go to a supervisor and ask for a raise. I look at myself and say, okay, what are the things that are working for me? What are the things that aren't working for me? This is how I'm going to make more money. And I'm the one that's in control. Because in the Army, guess what? I would go to my supervisor, and year after year after year, I would be told, yes, you can go to the board for promotion if you get down on your knees and do, the thing. And I would be like, no, I'm not doing that. And so every promotion that I earned in the military, I earned it, and it took me forever. And that taught me resilience, and it taught me willpower, and it taught me determination and to stick with it, because other people would pass me up. They would pass me up, and I knew that they were doing the things that I myself stood up against and would say, no, I'm not doing that. And so when I chose this industry, I chose it because I'm the one that's in charge of my promotions, me. And I love doing it with a team, right? I love bringing people with me and helping them to rise as well. But there's nobody above me saying, oh, you can't do that. Okay. So that's number one, rebelling against that. How else do I help veterans? Well, if you want a vacation with this job, guess what? You don't have to ask. We give you opportunities to earn it, or you can just make the goal, and then I help you achieve the goal so that you can take it whenever you want it. And then you can go where you decide. You don't have to ask permission to go to Mexico if that's where you want to go. You don't have to ask permission to go to somewhere else. Like, you and your family get to decide where you want to go on vacation. And then I help you achieve it financially so that you can get there and go on your time. I mean, the freedom in that to me is massive. And so I want to pass that on to veterans. Okay. Another thing, I work with veterans who, go 20 years and retire. I work with veterans who do 1 term, 1 enlistment, and anywhere in between. Okay. So here's the deal. You can have a retirement and build this as a second income. You can have another full-time job and do this in the nooks and crannies and build it as an additional income. This is not something that has to take over your life. This is something I don't spend all day on it. I don't. We teach you how to work this business in the nooks and crannies. So if you want to be there for your child's tea party, if you want to be there for your child's soccer game or football game or cheerleading competition, then you get to choose. You have the choice. And so I speak to veterans because of this, because I know what it's like to have that choice stripped away from you, not just in a 9 to 5, but then like say you're on a 24-hour shift. Okay. I remember my husband and I went to the same unit. We reclassed together, which means we changed our jobs together, and we went to the same unit. And we had a platoon sergeant, our first line supervisor, basically, or I guess second line supervisor, that was constantly deploying my husband and constantly trying to have sex with me. And it was disgusting. And then he's the one that I finally reported after over a year of him like coming on to me, trying to touch me, trying to like, you know, catch me naked, like all kinds of crazy things. And you know, he ended up moving on, but it put a blemish on my record because I had reported him. And so then I was a troublemaker. And I couldn't do anything right, even though I was a stellar soldier and everybody would agree. But I couldn't do anything right at that point because I was a troublemaker. I was a whistleblower. So my husband was basically deployed like off and on, like training. You know, he trained for 3 months, come back for a couple weeks. He was sent, you know, overseas for like 6 months, came back for a couple weeks. You know, they sent him to some schools that were like a couple months long, back to back. And then he had a year-long deployment in Afghanistan. And so with all that said and done, he was gone for about 2 years straight with like, we barely saw each other within those 2 years. Okay. We had a baby. And I went to my commander, my company commander, and I was like, hey, sir, because they were looking at me for deployment after he got home and he had been gone for 2 years. And I was like, hey, sir, I would just like to request like to have some time with my husband when he comes home before I go on a deployment. You know, we really could use some time together. And he's like, well, is your marriage in trouble? And I said, I don't know. You know, like I haven't seen him in 2 years. And he's like, well, we'll see. They had me on the deployment roster for right after he got home. But when they found out the day that my husband and his team were coming home, because we, you know, we didn't deploy like in big groups. It was like smaller groups. When they found that out, they put me on a 24-hour duty for the day that he got home. And I mean, it was just disgusting. And I, you know, thankfully I had some friends, and one of my friends, you know, took that duty for me. But it's just crazy, right? Like you give up so much of your personal freedom, like all of your personal freedom. Your life doesn't belong to you in the Army or in the military. And that is why I have found my passion in working with veterans, because I know that pain, and I know loving to work and having purpose in your work and being proud of what you do, but also wishing you had some more freedom so that you could actually spend that time with your family, so that you can build a life with your family and not break it apart. Military is like, besides I think police officers, military has the biggest divorce rate ever. And it's because you're separated so much of the time. So my passion is bringing back that time for you, is bringing freedom of life to you, and bringing financial freedom as well. So if that sounds like something that you relate to and you want to work with me, please make sure that you connect with me. You can shoot me a message. You can comment below. You can shoot me a text with the word info to the number 904-344-8225. That is my number, and I will text you back. But if you don't want to work with me, that's totally fine. But just know that I'm here to help you with your freedom while you fight for everybody else in this country to keep theirs. No.